Welcome. Is that my cue?
Take it away. I'll turn on the presentation too, if that'll help.
Sure.
We need intro music.
So, welcome everybody to Backdrop Live. We're here. Nate. Yes, let's clap. This is a big deal. Long time coming, and we're here. I'm going to improvise a bit. Take the card. Okay. My dad just made a spontaneous appearance in our Backdrop Live. We quickly lost my train of thought. So what's the next slide, Nate? Okay. Should I go ahead with my part, or did you have something to say here?
No, only that, well, first of all, I'm really excited to see everybody and that came to our first major online event. This is quite a showing for a Thursday night, at least in North America. It doesn't matter where you are, it's the middle of the work week, so it's absolutely amazing to have everyone here. This conference is on Backdrop CMS, and as you guys all are probably aware, Backdrop is a content management system based on PHP, a fork of Drupal, and its target audience is likely in the lower budget sphere. So business, small business, nonprofit, education, and software for building websites. So we're very excited to have all of you here for the first ever Backdrop Live.
Jen, you should say hi too.
Oh. How does this work? Can you, so I can only see Tim.
You can.
Is the screen sharing? There we go.
Okay.
So I think it's like with a live stream, I'll probably stream what I'm looking at. So I'm trying to make sure that it looks okay for everyone else. So apologies. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Lampton. I'm also very excited about Backdrop Live. I know we had a really busy week this week, and I wasn't able to adequately think about it until earlier today. And then I just realized how excited I was. So thank you everybody for coming. And I'm really looking forward to all the great discussions we're about to have.
Great. So I've been doing a lot of the organizing. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have planned. And then I think Nate is going to take over in a minute and give a bit of a status update on where we are with Backdrop. A quick history of how this event came to be. Actually about 2 or 3 months ago, we put this on reserved the date on the calendar. We've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. And about a month ago, we said it's getting close. We better get to work. We wanted to do something very interactive and engaging. And we're following kind of the old bar camp unconference model. The agenda is being driven. We didn't have any selection committee and session submissions. People have been telling us what they want to talk about and if they're willing to host a topic. We really wanted, our community is really spread out around the globe, and we wanted to try and get as many people involved around the globe as possible. And so we set up a schedule that has some strange meeting times like right now. There are some sessions that for us in North America are going to be in the middle of the night to accommodate our European and New Zealand participants. We want people to be interactive and engage throughout this process. So while everybody's muted nicely now, we're hoping that very shortly we're going to get you to unmute yourselves and participate in this. Our sessions are all designed to be interactive. We want you to ask questions and to share information. Some of the sessions will have some demonstrations. A couple of them may be slightly longer presentations, but some of them are just going to be discussions that are reliant upon everybody to participate. And the job of the host is just to convene the meeting and maybe help answer questions or ask questions and help get things going. We are using Zoom. There should be a link on the website. I think we're going to come back to this later and actually show the website, and we'll look at that for a minute. But just in the last 20 minutes, I think Jen switched over to a new view of the schedule. And the links are right there on the front page, aren't they, Jen? Just nod. Yep. So right on the front page, you should be able to see a link to get into the meeting for each session. We're getting a lot of questions about recordings and whether we'll be recording the sessions or not. I'm seeing that people are chatting in the chat room, and that's great. Everybody say hi in the chat room. We will be recording some of the sessions. As some of you heard, this one is being streamed. So we want, and will be recorded and available later. Those sessions where the host has done a presentation, we'll probably be recording most of those and sharing them on YouTube later. We will let you know if we're recording the session. A lot of the sessions are going to be discussions, and we feel like it'll just be that we'll have healthier and more robust conversations if we're not recording them to go on YouTube forever. So I know that's going to disappoint some of the folks who couldn't make it here, but I think it's going to work out for a better conference. So we'll update you on where to find those sessions that are recorded, but a lot of them won't be, and be aware of that. We'll try to make sure that at the beginning of every session, we make it clear whether or not that session is being recorded. Should we skip to the next slide? So the hallway track, we have basically most of our discussions are going to happen in 2 rooms. And again, the front page of the website makes that a little clearer now than was before. We're going to have a 3rd room, which will be kind of the hallway track room. And there's a couple of time slots in our existing rooms that are open. And we want people to use those, either to fill them, to let us know what topics you want to host in those open discussion rooms, or to feel free to sort of drop in, or just tell people that you want to go to this room and have a conversation. The hallway track room is just going to be kind of open all the time, and it's a place where there should normally be a backdrop volunteer there to help answer questions or just chat with you about backdrop. If you want to use that to have a discussion, if you're in a session, a discussion, and the conversation is veering in 2 different directions, feel free to say, hey, some of us are going to go over to this other room, go into the hallway and talk about this. Really try to use the space that we provide in whatever way you think works to get your questions answered and to talk about what you want to talk about. I want to mention, so we have a couple of sort of plenary sessions like this one. In addition to our opening session, we're going to do a Meet the Community session tomorrow morning. And I have to refrain from saying tomorrow morning because it won't be for everybody, but for me, it'll be tomorrow morning, where this will be an interactive session where we want people to introduce themselves and talk about what they're doing in Backdrop. We also have a Future of Backdrop session scheduled for later in the agenda, which will be kind of a panel discussion, open discussion on where Backdrop is going next. We also have, I just want to mention that sort of late this week, we invited our colleagues from Classic Press, the fork of WordPress, excuse me, to join us for kind of a discussion about how their project is going and how it compares to ours. And we're really curious about what they're doing with Classic Press, and I know they have questions for us. And so we're going to have a plenary discussion about that tomorrow. And also one of the lead developers on Classic Press will be giving a demo tomorrow about Classic Press and taking questions. Jen or Nate, am I missing anything? Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything in the chat I should see? Okay. This is all an experiment, so we're doing this kind of for the first time. So if things are a little bumpy from here and there, please bear with us and give us feedback. Oh, I want to mention, this is going to be on the slides later, but with this kind of a virtual format, I think we highly encourage people to get into our Backdrop Slack, or excuse me, chat session, which is actually a tool called Zulip. This is an open source chat tool that we use pretty heavily in the Backdrop community. And it's a great place to keep track of and communicate with other people. You can talk to other participants between, from session to session or between sessions. And also, once you're in there, this is a great place to come and ask questions after Backdrop Live. Zulip is pretty active, and you can almost always find somebody there to sort of answer your questions or hang out with. And also, please tweet Backdrop #BackdropLive or whichever social media platform you choose to use. But we'd love to get the word out. This is a big opportunity. This event, Backdrop Live, is a big opportunity for us to get the word out about Backdrop and for let people know what's going on. Yep. I think that's all I have.
Yep, I can take it back up from here, Tim. Thank you very much.
Great.
All right, I wanted to just give a little shout out for registrations and the way that we're running the conference. For those of you that have registered, thank you all very much. Payment is optional, but if you did pay, then you may have gotten a receipt from PayPal noting that you made a payment to the Software Freedom Conservancy, which may have been a surprise to you considering you were trying to sign up for Backdrop Live. So I wanted to give a little shout out to the Software Freedom Conservancy and explain what their role is in the Backdrop project. The Software Freedom Conservancy is a conglomeration of dozens of other open source projects, mostly all GPL software, like Backdrop itself is. And the Software Freedom Conservancy does this wonderful service for open source projects where they act as what they call a fiscal sponsor, which is basically they handle the money for open source projects so that you can be compliant with like tax laws and banking regulations and also like international currency handling. Like they handle all of these things for us to make it so that all of the money that we use to run the project doesn't end up in anyone's personal bank account or on anyone's personal income statement as income. So the Software Freedom Conservancy is providing a wonderful service. And this is the first time that we've channeled like a dedicated amount of dedicated funding right into their services. And so we just like to shout out to the Software Freedom Conservancy and thank them very much. And also don't be alarmed that your money went to a place that you may not have ever heard of before, but now you have. Also, if you visit backdropcms.org/donate, the buttons on that page also go to the Software Freedom Conservancy. So it's been a crazy week in the world of Backdrop, and we have other presentations on like the future of Backdrop and what's happening, but I think that we should acknowledge that just day before yesterday, we released a new minor version of Backdrop 1.17. We release new versions of Backdrop every 4 months. It's been a long time since we're on our 18th release of Backdrop following this cycle. And it's been another really great release. We actually had probably more activity fixing bugs and minor issues this cycle than we have in any release previously. So we only have a dozen or so new features that are in Backdrop 1.17, but we also got over 50 bug fixes into 1.16.3, which is the last bug fix release of the previous minor version. So all 50 of those 50 plus bug fixes are also in 1.17, plus these new features, like we added capabilities to lazy load images. There's a new standard for lazy loading images via HTML attributes. Image style tokens is a port of the image cache tokens module, so that now you can place like a medium size image or a thumbnail size image anywhere that you can use tokens through an old Backdrop. Layout administration improvements, custom contexts. These are really cool new features for layouts, and it sets a baseline for some future capabilities. I'm tempted to go through the whole list, but I'm not going to. There's a lot of great new stuff. You should check out the Backdrop release notes and the announcement that we posted on backdropcms.org that kind of calls out the main new features in Backdrop 117. Also, over this release, so Backdrop has had 28 core contributors that received attribution in the last 4 months. And that's super awesome. It's also crazy exactly how active some of these members are. I didn't go through and actually calculate like percentages or anything like that. And unfortunately, if you posted comments, those are also major contributions to Backdrop core development. But unless the issue was actually closed, like these are only the ones that we fixed, like that we finished these issues. We also had lots and lots of discussions, and as issues move to completion, now I'm thinking about it, we need to make this more fair, that you don't get credit unless something gets done. But we really appreciate all of the work that has been happening in the Backdrop issue queue, thousands of comments, as always, happening to reach compromises and reach solutions to make better software. So big shout out and thank you to our core contributors, those here on the list, and those that are actively involved all of the time on the issue queue. Let's see. I also wanted to, this is the first time we've had kind of an annual event like this where we kind of have this opportunity to give annual news, like what's going on with the Backdrop project. And maybe we'll get into a lot more of that in the future of Backdrop presentation. But retrospectively, we had some leadership changes in 2019 and 2020. And I'd like Jen to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So this year we did sort of an evaluation of our community as a whole and realized that we have a whole lot of really active community members that have really good ideas about what to do with the project. And we had a bunch of older members who didn't seem to be as active anymore. And so we asked our current project management committee, hey, are you guys still working with Backdrop actively? Do you have time to commit to the project? And some of them, even though they really wanted to remain a member, just had to come to the realization that they didn't have the same time to contribute to the project that they did, 2 or 3 years ago. And so we had some very, great contributors to the project who stepped off the project management committee this year. One of them is Mike McCaffrey. For those of you who don't know, Mike McCaffrey was responsible for the name Backdrop. It was in a tweet of his long before Backdrop ever existed. And when we finally came around to tweeting the project and it needed a name, there was a name. And he served on the project management committee as a really active voice in the beginning, helping us guide the direction of the project, keeping it simple, focusing on real world problems, and was really a huge benefit to the community in that respect. We also had Wes Ruvalcabal, who had created the front end team that's in Backdrop right now called Basis. And he did a fantastic job, not only working on all of the stuff that's in core, but helping us guide principles on how to make better themes for being base themes, or design contributions for what is happening in the user interface. And he changed jobs this year. He now is working for Red Hat, and he doesn't have the same amount of time as he had before to contribute to the project, so he has also stepped off. And then one of the people that I'm sure you guys are all very well familiar with, Nate Lampton, has been the original forker of Backdrop. He's been really active in everything for a really long time. And he also realized that he wanted to spend the time that he had available working on Backdrop core and not serving on the project management committee. We can let him talk more about that if he wants to. But I did just want to mention that all of these people were huge contributors to the project and have stepped off this year. We want to thank them for all of the time they have previously contributed. We also had a couple of super active, prolific members who we wanted to recognize more and get involved in conversations about the future of Backdrop. One of them you guys might recognize is Tim Erickson. He's been instrumental in organizing this event. He's also been really great in organizing a lot of other issues that are happening in Backdrop. He's been core issue advocate for the last few releases. He's been fantastic about making sure we finish things we start. And he also has a really good perspective on how Backdrop is used in the real world. And we want his voice in those conversations. And also Andy Schillingford, those of you probably know him as Doc Wilmot on GitHub. He has been a really major contributor to Backdrop Core since the very beginning. And he also does a really good job of keeping us in check in saying like, hey, let's stop thinking about this code and start thinking about what Backdrop needs right now on a sort of a higher level, and has been sort of a voice of reason for their community for a really long time. And so this year we got the project management committee voted unanimously to include both Tim and Andy in our leadership structure. So I want to say thank you and welcome to them as well.
And I don't want to make a mistake here. Olaf is new too, right? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I missed him on the slide entirely. Okay, so Olaf also has been really instrumental to Backdrop since the very beginning too. He has been the voice making sure that all of the stuff that we add to core works for multilingual websites, which I think is really great to have someone around who's constantly correcting us when we forget something or making recommendations to things that could be translated that aren't. And we have a lot of stuff in Backdrop core that wasn't translatable in Drupal 7 because of all of his efforts. So things like, you know, block labels and menu items are all issues that he's been pushing forward. He also is really good at helping us steer the direction of the project by keeping the focus on our intended target audience. So I think having him around will also be a huge benefit. So welcome, Olaf. I'm sorry, I forgot you from the slide. Olaf has also been really instrumental in forming a local Backdrop community in Germany. So I just wanted to throw that out there too. He's got his own group of people there that collaborate and work on Backdrop in German. So yay, globalness.
Yep.
Thank you, Nate.
Yep, thank you, Jen. Yeah, for my own part, I won't add too much about my stepping down from the PMC because I wrote a whole blog post about it. You can read it on backdropcms.org. It's not a reduction in my activity in the project, just a shifting so that I can really focus on being the management of Backdrop Core. Plus also really important for diversification of ideas and cultures and geographic locations. Like we have kind of an unfortunate concentration in like North America. So we're trying to separate that out and with, yeah, just trying to make it, and I'm a white guy, so it's always good to have one less of them. So anyway, I'm gonna stop before I put my foot in my mouth. So we've got an opportunity here to open this up. Tim, I think I would love it if you could pick it back up and guide our conversation here.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We are improvising as we go. Jen just reminded me we didn't have a hallway track room open yet. So I just opened one up on my phone. I'm now in 2 rooms. The hallway track is running. So quick point of process with Jen or Nate. We got 21 people. We talked about if we had enough people, maybe using the breakout rooms. Should we go ahead and do that?
Sure.
You might have to do the logistics on that because I'm not the host anymore. But what we wanted to do now is, first of all, start off the Backdrop Live with some interaction to reinforce that this is an interactive event, and also to hear a little bit more about why you're all here and what you're looking to learn. Because of this open format, everybody should have the opportunity to get their questions answered. And so here's a chance to start that by telling us what you're here to learn about, if there are session topics. And we're using this word session interchangeably with discussion. For the most part, we want these to be conversations and discussions. Are there any particular topics that you came particularly excited about? And are there topics that we don't have on the schedule already? And what we proposed again, we weren't sure how many people would show up at this time of the night. So if it was a smaller group, we would do this all together. But we're thinking now that we'll break into a couple of small groups. Hopefully everybody is comfortable with that, and sort of introduce yourself to each other and address these questions. What are you here to, probably also include what your experience with Backdrop is. So what experience, if any, do you have with Backdrop already? What would you like to learn about? What sessions are you excited about? And what topics are missing from the agenda? Actually, while we're doing that, Nate, you could flop. We were going to maybe show the schedule, put the schedule up on the screen.
Yep.
So, Jen, are you, or who has the controls to work the breakout rooms? This is, by the way, we're improvising on the fly. None of us have ever done this before.
I have divided everybody into 3 rooms.
Okay. I'm excited to see how this works.
Did you want to talk about the schedule first?
Well, I don't know. Should we? We could skim through it. Do you want to sort of briefly summarize it?
Sure. I mean, I was just thinking on a high level, we
Right.
added links to the schedule that should take you directly into every Zoom room
Sure.
for each session. The Zoom rooms for the sessions and discussions are only open for 1 hour, but the hallway track room is open the whole time. So if you get kicked out of a session room because the Zoom has ended, you're welcome to move everybody into the hallway and continue the conversation there. Yeah, if there's nothing you're interested in seeing at a given time, hanging out in the hallway is a good place to be too.
Yep. Great.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. And yes. Go ahead.
I'm gonna push the button. Fingers crossed this works. All right, so everybody should have been given an invitation to join the breakout room. It looks like almost everyone's gone. I'm assigning you to room 2.